One of the best things with Italy is the well-preserved churches. Of course, it is nice to visit the most famous one like St. Peter's Cathedral, but I think it is nice to visit other churches that are not that famous. For example, this is the San Lorenzo Cathedral in Genoa. It is free to visit and there were no lines. This Roman Catholic church was founded in 1110 in Gothic style, but has been the subject of renovations. Some part of the church are in Romanesque style, and there is even Byzantine sculptures. Being a medieval church, it has a notable presence of art from many painters of whom I have never heard of before. But they are famous painters, it is just me that don't recognize their names. The church is filled with gold and probably very expensive artwork. For me, that's a sign of how powerful the Catholic Church has been in history, and maybe is now. Yes, I think it is beautiful, but part of me also thinks that all of the money invested in this in history could have been invested on social welfare, healthcare, and so on. But on the other hand, having culture in our lives are extremely important for our well-being. I am therefore thankful for the opportunity to visit this church for free. You can donate a couple of euros for the preservation of the church, which I did. Cardinal Lorenzo Maria Fieschi is buried here. He was also a diplomat serving as governor of 5 regions in his life. On top of that, he was also Archbishop of Avignon and Genoa. He died in Genoa in 1726. Over a span of many hundred years, the Fieschi family produced 7 cardinals and the popes Innocent IV and Adrian V. I guess that coming from a good family really meant that it was easier to climb the ladder and become someone. The church and power has always been linked in some way. I am a strong believer that the church should be secular from the state. Back then, in many nations, it was illegal to not belong to the state church or attend mass. Basically, you were forced to a religion, and that's a way of controlling the public that I think is unacceptable. Freedom of religion is very important, but should not be taken for granted. But the church has also done a lot of good things in history that has touched a lot of people, like helping the poor or contributed to science, even though they thought the earth was flat. And we all know the earth is not flat. That's why I have a troublesome relationship to the church. They have contributed to medical innovations, but also killed, gave money to the poor, but also stolen, supported science, but also banned scientists that had a different view than them. On the other hand, I am happy that they have preserved so many documents and buildings. We should be thankful for that. And we have much to learn from them. If you want to, you can walk up the 167 steps to the tower. Yes, I counted them and did not Google it. By these stairs you will also reach the 2nd floor of the cathedral. To be honest, the 2nd floor was really disappointing. Although it was pretty cool to see this up close, the detailing is pretty cool. Don't you agree? What do you think it is worth? It's probably worth a lot of money. This is the view from the tower towards the square in front of the San Lorenzo Cathedral. I only stayed here a couple of minutes. I looked over the city and thought about the great history of Genoa and how much it has endured over time. Genoa was destroyed by Hannibal in 205 BC in the Second Punic War, and it was then a really old city. These old buildings are very young in comparison to the total history of Genoa. They were basically built yesterday, so in other words, there is a lot to uncover here if you like history. The 2nd floor could have been used better. I got great views from the top of the tower, but Genoa is pretty much built on mountains and you can get some really great views for free at so many sites in this city. Access to the cathedral was free, but I had to pay €5 for the tower entrance. Not really worth it. It would have been so fun if they would have done a small exhibition with interesting facts about the cathedral and Genoa's history. I would have gladly paid €5 for that. In the Middle Ages, the city of Genoa was known for not having any squares. Therefore, the front of the cathedral, the Parvis, became an important meeting point for locals to discuss matters. So, indirectly, the cathedral and the surrounding area has played a great role in the political scene of Genoa. In my mind, I am transferring myself back in time. What would I have discussed here with the locals? What did they discuss? What was important for them? These questions are very interesting, and I really want to know the answers of these questions. The cathedral has been rebuilt and renovated many times all the way to the 18th century, with smaller renovations being done later. That has, of course, cost the city and the diocese a lot of money. Actually, the Crusades founded church renovations in 1118, so the renovations was possible due to stolen money from the Crusader Wars. The same year, in 1118, it was consecrated by Pope Gelasius II on his very brief reign as ruler of the Papal States before he went in exile and died in 1119 in the Abbey of Cluny in France, which is, by the way, a place I want to visit. You have probably already figured out that this is not a standard tourist video of what to visit. That's not my style. I say whatever I want to say. If you got any suggestion on a place I should make a video about, ask in the comments. I always read the comments and I love all kinds of engagement. Now, the question some of you are probably asking yourself: should I visit this cathedral? If you like history, my answer is yes, but don't pay to visit the second floor or the tower. As you already know, I can't recommend that. I just can't do it. The cathedral is so close to the other sightseeings and museums in central Genoa, so it is worth a visit, even for a short visit. Genoa in general is very well worth a visit. In fact, I rank it at the same level as Rome and above Milano, which is just a city to avoid if you ask me. The smaller size of the city center is a huge plus, and it was easy to get around with public transportation, which is not free for tourists, but it is for residents. One thing is for sure: I will be back someday.